When most of us think about trading, we think it's all about picking a direction, right? Is the stock going up or is it going down? But what if I told you there's a way to bet on the size of the move itself without even caring which way it goes? Well, today we're going to dive right into that world, the world of trading pure volatility. So, picture this. A company is about to drop its earnings report, or maybe there's a huge FDA decision on the horizon. You are absolutely certain the stock is going to make a massive move. The problem is you have no idea if it's going to skyrocket or plummet. So what do? This exact scenario is where these volatility strategies really shine. All right, first up, let's talk about how you can profit from a massive breakout. We'll call these the long plays. These are the strategies you pull out when you're expecting some serious chaos in the market. Now, the classic move here is called the long straddle, and it sounds complicated, but it's actually surprisingly simple. You buy one call option, that's your bet that the stock goes up, and at the exact same time, you buy one put option, your bet that it goes down. They're for the same stock, same strike price, same expiration. It's kind of like you're buying a ticket to the big game, and you don't care who wins as long as it's a blowout. And the risk profile here, it's pretty compelling. Your potential profit is theoretically unlimited if that stock really takes off. And your max loss? Well, it's capped. You can only lose the premium you paid for the options, and that's it. But, and this is a big but, you gotta watch out for two things. Time decay, because all options lose value as they get closer to expiring, and something called IV crush. That's when all that pre-event hype disappears, and the value of your options can get crushed even if the stock moved a little bit in your favor. Now, a close cousin to the straddle is the strangle. It's the same idea, but with a twist. You use out-of-the-money options, which, you guessed it, are cheaper. But of course, there's a trade-off. Because it costs you less to get into the trade, the stock needs to make an even bigger move for you to turn a profit. So you're basically choosing, do you want a higher cost for a smaller hurdle to clear, or a lower cost for a much bigger one? Okay, but what if you think the exact opposite? What if you look at all the hype and think, this is just a bunch of noise? That stock is going to do absolutely nothing. Well, guess what? You can bet on that too. And that brings us to the short play, where you're essentially selling calm into the marketplace. So this brings us to the short straddle and the short strangle. Instead of buying options, you're the one on the other side of the trade selling them to someone else. And when you do that, you collect a cash premium right up front. Your entire bet is that the stock will just sit there, trading in a tight little range. If it does, those options you sold will expire worthless, and you get to keep that entire premium as pure profit. The best way to think about it is like this. You're basically acting like a little insurance company. The person buying the options from you is paying you a premium to protect themselves from a huge price swing. You get to pocket that premium, but in return, you're the one who takes on all the risk if that huge swing actually happens. And we have to be absolutely 100% crystal clear about this. That risk is enormous. While the person buying the options has a defined, limited risk that can only lose what they paid, the person selling has potentially unlimited risk. If that stock makes a massive, unexpected move, the seller is on the hook, and those losses can be many, many times larger than the small premium they collected. So you see, the risk profile here is a complete mirror image of the long position. Your profit is capped, you can only make the premium you collected, but your loss is, well, it's potentially unlimited. And here's the crazy part. The forces that hurt the buyer are your best friends. You actually profit from time decay in that IV crush we talked about because they make the options you sold lose their value faster. Okay, so let's put these two philosophies side by side. It really is the buyer of volatility versus the seller of volatility, the person betting on chaos versus the person selling calm. Just look at the perfect symmetry on this chart. The buyer pays a premium for a shot at unlimited profit, but their loss is totally capped. The seller collects that premium, capping their own profit, but in return, they take on that scary, potentially unlimited loss. One absolutely needs volatility to hit a home run. The other needs stability and calm. They are literally two sides of the exact same coin. All right, I know that's a lot to absorb. So how do you actually use this information? Let's try to distill all of this down into a simple playbook, a framework for thinking about which strategy might actually fit your view of the market. It really just comes down to these four questions. First, what's your gut feeling? Are you expecting a storm or a calm sea? Second, based on that, are you going to be a buyer or a seller? Third, which tool do you want? The straddle, which is more sensitive but more expensive, or the strangle, which is cheaper but needs a bigger move? And finally, and this is the most important question of all,
Do you know your risk? Is your maximum loss defined and capped, or is it undefined and potentially unlimited? You have to know the answer.
So, to wrap this all up, if you remember nothing else, remember this. Long positions, that's buying straddles and strangles, are a bet on a big move. Short positions, selling them, are a bet against a big move. Strangles are your cheaper, higher hurdle alternative to straddles. And always, always, always remember, selling these strategies carries massive, undefined risk that you should never, ever underestimate.
So, before you ever even think about placing a trade like this, you have to ask yourself one simple question. As you look at that big event coming up on the horizon, are you betting on the storm itself, or are you betting on the calm that follows? Your answer to that question will tell you everything you need to know.